Anson, we watched the fallout. I think the sales of Bud Light tanked like $16 billion or some number like that, and took down the company, the corporate structure, down another 80 or 90 billion dollars, some insane number like that. What's your response when you see Dylan Mulvaney out there kind of playing the victim yet again?
Yeah, I think that this just shows about how lost Bud Light was as a brand 2 years ago, when, in Dylan's words, Dylan is a musical theater girl. And in the history of Bud Light, I don't think Bud Light ever sponsored musical theater girls. And you see how far they've come now, where I give them a lot of credit. They're now sponsoring the Ultimate Fighting Championship. They're sponsoring Shane Gillis. That's what authentically Bud Light was. And the problem with it actually isn't with musical theater girls. It's the fact that Dylan Mulvaney became a very controversial transgender advocate. You've seen Dylan advocate for biological men to compete against women in sports and advocate for gender affirmation care. And these are things that are very politically charged. And that's not what ever Bud Light was. Bud Light was not one of these brands like Ben and Jerry's that got involved in political social issues. They were about sports and music and bringing folks together. That was the problem with the partnership. And that's why Bud Light got themselves in hot water, because this was an inauthentic partnership with a politically charged person that Bud Light had never done beforehand.
And I'm guessing they're not going to do it again. And I guess you have to give credit to the American consumer to let them off the hook. Either that, or it's that good of a beer. Frankly, I don't like light beer. Or I drink vodka. Just light beer doesn't taste like anything to me. But here's a good friend of mine. In fact, I texted him just before the show. Here's a good friend of mine's reaction to the whole fiasco of Bud Light doing this with the trans dude. Watch.
Grandpa's feeling a little frisky today. Let me say something to all you and be as clear and concise as possible. Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch. Have a terrific day.
How much you love Kid Rock? I love that guy. In fact, I'm trying to get him on. He's starting to tour next week. We're doing everything in our power. But so he kind of spoke for so many people like me when he did that. Have they turned the corner in, what is it, a year, maybe, and maybe even, I don't know, is it less than a year? What do you think, Anson?
No, it's crazy. Bowling. So we're actually coming up with a 2-year anniversary of the Bud Light Dylan Mulvaney partnership. It actually happened on April Fool's Day of 2023. So April 1st, 2023. A lot of people, again, thought that this partnership was a joke. And then not only was the partnership itself problematic, but you might recall you had Bud Light's VP of marketing at the time, Alyssa Heinerschein, who was on a Zoom call that week calling the Bud Light consumer essentially fratty and out of touch. And then their CEO, Brendan Whitworth, a week or so later, released this nothing burger statement where he neither apologized to consumers like Kid Rock. They just wanted Bud Light to be funny and authentic and humorous. And then nor did he come out to people on the left that started boycotting it, asked him to do more partnerships with people like Dylan Mulvaney. And so he was caught between this whole rock and a hard place, ended up doing nothing. And the sales were down 30% that first year. They were down another 10% last year, and they're trending down again. So I mean, this is a brand.
So this is really what I want to get to. They're still trending down, even though Bud Light was all over the Super Bowl. Shane Gillis, did a couple of Bud Light ads in the Super Bowl. You hear about Dana White with UFC. Using Bud Light as a sponsor. I'm not even positive. My good friend Kid Rock didn't have some Bud Light at one of his concerts recently, and I'm just blown away. But so does it trend back up, or have people really gone to what it was in Modelo? Is that what it was that took over as the most popular beer in America?
Yeah, Modelo took over as the most popular beer in America. I think here's the big problem, is that the Bud Light consumers has lost trust with Bud Light. And the biggest reason is that they have yet to get an apology. I always say, like, the path to redemption, it goes through forgiveness. But to be forgiven, you have to admit that you screwed up. I think people like Kid Rock have actually come back to it, because he said on Joe Rogan's podcast that the CEO of Anheuser-Busch, Brendan Whitworth, flew out, met with him, said we screwed up. Dana White in UFC, he got $100 million from them, and so he's kind of back. But the regular American consumer, the regular beer drinker, is still sitting out there and wondering, what is Bud Light? How can I trust Bud Light? Are they going to be doing Super Bowl commercials with Shane Gillis, or the next years are going to be with Dylan Mulvaney? I want to know. Let me know, guys, where you guys are heading. I don't think until they do that, they're not going to get back.
I don't know. I think they learned their lesson, and I think a lot of people did. I think you see a lot of universities dropping their DEI studies and transgender studies as majors, and you see the big corporate entities that used to focus on hiring DEI are moving away from it, which is good. But then again, just roll not the soundbite control, Mad Dog. Just roll it as VO. We call it VO, voice over. I just want to see it because here's Dylan Mulvaney on The View, very popular talk show, and the hosts are all like really kind of surrounding him like he's the victim again. Is it just is the pendulum swinging back their way this quickly? Anson, I want to know.
Are you doing a clip? Are you asking?
No. I'm just showing people of Dylan Mulvaney on The View yesterday. Like, are they embracing this whole trans movement again already? Haven't The View learned their lesson too?
Well, I think The View, they're off in a different universe right now. I don't think they ever left. They're still embracing the idea that biological men should compete against women in sports and some of the more controversial parts of sort of the transgender movement. So I don't think they've ever left that. But I think the rest of America is getting back towards just business, especially corporations are not going to try and be performative anymore. I think you went into like a big issue, and if it's all right, I'll put in a quick plug for my book. I have this book called Last Call for Bud Light that's out right now that talks actually more about this problem. Is you have certain companies like Anheuser-Busch InBev, and they're actually, Anheuser-Busch is a foreign-owned company. It's owned by this company called InBev over in Europe, and Europe is now pushing more of this ESG and DEI agenda onto American companies. It's the reason that Anheuser-Busch has yet to walk back the DEI commitments that they have made, unlike companies like Walmart or Tractor Supply Company that said, hey, this didn't work. It didn't compete and make us more competitive. It didn't make us more money. It didn't actually create a more diverse workforce. So we're walking it back. Anheuser-Busch InBev has yet to do that, mostly because they're a European-owned company. And I think until they maybe even think about selling Anheuser-Busch back in the United States to U.S. investors, I don't know if they're going to be able to do that because of this European ownership.